written was Bird versus Magic, Magic versus Bird, that whole thing, and it wasn't Indiana State versus Michigan State anymore. It was Larry Bird versus Magic Johnson.
So we got beat because they were the best team. They was the best team in college basketball at that time.
We knew we was going to play against a great team, Michigan State. By watching them on film, I knew it was going to be the best.
I remember from the documentary that said that you really liked Irvin. You were less fond of Magic. What does it mean?
Well, Irvin the man's one thing, but Irvin the basketball player, I had a little problem with him. It ended, of course, 20.
For over 40 years, it was the greatest rivalry in sports history. A rivalry built on breathtaking competition, mutual respect, and one of the most famous handshakes in basketball lore. Larry Bird and Magic Johnson saved the NBA together. They pushed each other to legendary heights. But what if the whole story wasn't a friendship forged in fire? What if, beneath the public smiles and the corporate nostalgia tours, a deep, burning resentment has been simmering for decades? Larry Bird, the quiet assassin from French Lick, has finally broken his silence. And what he says doesn't just challenge the narrative, it blows it to pieces. This is the story of why a legend, all these years later, still can't stand Magic Johnson. The story of Larry Bird and Magic Johnson is the foundational myth of the modern NBA. It's a tale told in documentaries, books, and Hall of Fame speeches. Two young men, one from the bright lights of Lansing in Los Angeles, the other from the hard-scrabble soil of French Lick, Indiana, who collided on the grandest stage, fought legendary battles, and in doing so, forged a bond of mutual respect that transcended the sport. They were opposites who completed each other, rivals who saved the league together. It's a beautiful story. According to new, explosive revelations from Bird's inner circle, it's also a profound lie that Bird has been forced to live inside for over 4 decades. From the moment their careers became intertwined after the 1979 NCAA championship game, the league and its media partners saw gold. This wasn't just a rivalry, it was a perfect, marketable dichotomy. Magic was the smile, the showmanship, the future. Bird was the scowl, the fundamentals, the past. The narrative was irresistible. But for Larry Bird, a man whose soul was forged in isolation, hard work, and a near-pathological hatred of losing, this packaged buddy-cop dynamic felt alien and false. Their respect was undeniable. You cannot go to war with someone that fierce and not come away with a primal understanding of their greatness. But respect is not friendship. Acknowledgement is not affection. The breaking point, sources say, came in the years following their retirements. As the league sought to capitalize on their legacy, the joint appearances began. The commercials, the award ceremonies, the endless roundtables where they were placed side by side and prompted to tell the same stories. For Magic Johnson, this was a natural extension of his personality. He was a born entertainer, a storyteller, a businessman. For Bird, it was a form of professional torture. Every forced laugh, every rehearsed anecdote about their friendly competition graded against his authentic self. He wasn't just reliving games, he was performing a sanitized, corporate-approved version of a rivalry that, to him, was defined by sleepless nights, obsessive film study, and a desire not just to beat Magic, but to break him. The public wanted a warm fable. Bird lived a cold, brutal truth. The cage, as his confidants call it, was this lifelong obligation to pretend the most intense competitive relationship of his life was ultimately a feel-good bromance. The resentment didn't stem from the battles on the court. It grew from the decades of being forced to smile and deny what those battles truly were.
Take some time.
Well, I talked to you, and you really took some of those incidents personally, and it really hurt you because you want everything to go well. You played the game the right way. You love the state of Indiana. So tell me how you feel about this team now. You're feeling good about it representing not only yourself,
But I can remember going home and telling my older brother, I just seen the best basketball player I'm probably ever going to see in my life. And he started quizzing me, asking me questions. Well, how good is he? I said, well, he's 6'9".
If the forced camaraderie was the cage, then the lock on that cage, according to those close to Bird, was Magic Johnson's effortless, lifelong ownership of their shared story. Bird's silence for years wasn't just preference, it was a form of being silenced. Magic, with his charismatic ease in front of cameras and crowds, became the default narrator of the Bird Magic saga. He shaped the perception, controlled the tone, and in doing so, repeatedly committed what Bird saw as the ultimate sin. He softened the edges. He turned their war into a theater piece. In every interview, Magic was the one who framed their rivalry. He spoke of love, of making each other better, of the beautiful drama of it all. He was gracious, expansive, and relentlessly positive. While this was likely genuine from Magic's perspective, from Bird's viewpoint, it was a distortion. It erased the visceral, personal stakes. Bird's competitive fire wasn't something beautiful to be grateful for. It was a weapon he honed to destroy Magic Johnson. To hear Magic constantly reframe that destructive urge as a mutually beneficial gift felt, to Bird, like a profound misunderstanding of who he was. Magic owned the narrative, and in that narrative, Bird's defining characteristic, his ruthless, win-at-all-costs mentality, was consistently polished into something more palatable, more corporate. His rage was recast as motivation. His obsession was rebranded as dedication. This control extended beyond interviews. Magic's post-career identity as a smiling ambassador, a successful businessman, and a media personality meant he was always the one introducing Bird at events, leading the conversations, setting the emotional tenor. Bird, the less publicly verbose of the two, was often relegated to the role of the straight man, the grumpy but lovable foil to Magic's effusive host. This dynamic chafed at the very core of Bird's pride. On the court, he was Magic's equal, his superior in many facets. In the narrative of their lives, he felt like a supporting character in Magic's show. The man who hated losing more than anything had, in retirement, been forced into a permanent second fiddle role in the telling of his own life's work. Every time Magic smiled and told a charming story about their friendship, he was, in Bird's eyes, claiming another piece of their history and sanding down its brutal, truthful edges. The respect for the player remained, but the inability to control the story of their rivalry, to see it made soft and safe by the very man he fought so hard to conquer, bred a resentment that time, rather than healing, only fossilized.
Well, you know, when you're good friends, you don't care about his money.
I see.
I just
Okay.
want the clothes and the sneakers.
Did you ever get involved in trash talk with Jordan?
Thanks a lot, Jimmy. for
I just
bringing
wonder,
this
but
up.
because you don't seem like a trash talking kind of guy
I'm
to
not,
me.
and I never talk trash, but one time in my entire life
With Jordan.
with Jordan.
Oh, all right.
First ever.
I want to say this is just a small step to what our goal really is, to get to Barcelona, win the gold medal, and bring it back where it's supposed to be. Thank you.
Lingering resentment over narrative control might have remained a private, bitter footnote. But according to sources, a specific and relatively recent business incident acted as the final straw, transforming quiet disdain into a definitive cold silence. It involved the ultimate commodification of their rivalry. A major media company approached both legends about executive producing a high-budget, definitive docuseries on the Celtics-Lakers feud of the 1980s. The project promised unprecedented access, new interviews, and the final word on the era. Magic Johnson, ever the savvy businessman and media figure, was immediately enthusiastic. He saw the global appeal, the legacy-cementing potential, and the significant financial upside. His team engaged quickly, shaping the creative direction around the well-worn theme of eternal respect and joyful competition. The angle was, as always, uplifting and focused on the game's growth. Larry Bird, however, was deeply hesitant. He was wary of yet another project that would force him to relive the past through a filtered, sentimental lens. His condition for involvement, delivered through his representatives, was specific. He wanted the documentary to honestly address the darker, more psychologically complex aspects of the rivalry, the isolation, the pressure, the genuine hatred that existed between the teams and, at times, between the two men themselves. He wanted it to show the cost, not just the glory. Magic's camp, according to insiders, pushed back hard. They argued that the negative angle was a downer, bad for branding, and not what the audience or the league partners wanted. The back and forth escalated behind the scenes. Bird's team felt Magic was, once again, using his influence to sanitize history, to ensure the story was told the way he wanted it told, as a shiny, marketable product. The breaking point came when Bird learned that Magic, in a meeting with producers, had reportedly said, "Larry just doesn't understand how this works. The story isn't about the anger, it's about the inspiration." That single sentence, whether accurately reported or not, confirmed Bird's deepest suspicion. To Magic, their shared history was ultimately a product. Bird's truth, his lived experience of ferocious, all-consuming rivalry, was an inconvenient element to be managed, not a reality to be explored. He walked away from the deal entirely. The documentary moved forward with Magic as the leading voice and face of the project, a version Bird considers fundamentally dishonest. This wasn't about basketball anymore. It was about the ownership of truth. Magic, in Bird's view, had chosen commerce over authenticity, and in doing so had finally exposed the partnership for what it always was to him, a business arrangement. The silent treatment that followed wasn't merely pouting, it was the logical conclusion. If their history was just another of Magic's business ventures, then Bird saw no reason to pretend to be a partner. The rivalry was real, the respect for the player was real, but any semblance of camaraderie was officially and permanently dead.
72,000 people saw the game. It's really incredible.
Well, I don't know if 70-some thousand can see it, but they're here, probably watching on Jumbotron. But, it's amazing how the game has come so far and all the time they put into it to make it better. So the NCAA has done a great job, and it's just getting bigger and bigger. When we first came in, there's 32 teams. Now there's 64, and a lot of quality teams out there.
Yes, and I'd say that we put the madness in March, when that.
Larry Bird's fractured relationship with Magic Johnson isn't a relic, it's a living lens through which he views the modern NBA, and it explains his notorious icy distance from the league's current celebrity culture. Bird's retreat from the public eye isn't just a personality quirk, it's a philosophy forged in the fire of what he sees as his own experience, the co-opting of pure competition into personal brand narrative. When Bird watches today's NBA with its superstar alliances, player-empowered media companies, and carefully crafted public friendships between rivals, he doesn't see progress. He sees Magic's world winning. He sees the final triumph of style over substance, of narrative over competition. The idea that LeBron James and Kevin Durant could be close friends, could vacation together, could build business partnerships while battling for championships is anathema to Bird's core belief system. In his mind, this modern comfort is a direct descendant of the friendly rivalry narrative Magic championed, a narrative Bird believes cheapens the very essence of what it means to compete for a title. His infamous sparse comments about modern players often carry this subtext. When he implies today's stars aren't as tough or that they're too friendly, he's not just talking about physicality, he's critiquing a mindset. He's pointing to a world where the story of the game, the podcasts, the social media, the brand extensions can sometimes seem as important as the game itself. And in that world, he sees Magic Johnson not as a pioneer, but as a precursor. Magic was the first superstar to seamlessly blend elite play with relentless smiling self-promotion and narrative control. Bird fought that tide his entire career, only to watch it become the ocean in which the modern league swims. This is why, sources say, Bird's resentment is tinged with a note of tragic vindication. The league he helped save evolved into a version he doesn't recognize or particularly respect, and the architect of that evolution, in his eyes, was the man who spent decades repackaging their blood and guts war as a feel-good parable. every time he sees a superstar prioritize his brand, or two rivals laugh together on a podcast, it echoes the dynamic he lived with Magic, the talented performer who understood that the story around the game could be as valuable as the game itself. Bird's standoffishness, then, is his last line of defense. By refusing to participate, by maintaining his icy silence and distance, he is upholding his own truth against a basketball culture he believes has lost its way. His problem with Magic Johnson is no longer personal, it's prophetic. He couldn't stand Magic's methods then, and he can't stand what those methods have spawned now.
Bird comes in and says, which one of you is going to come in second place? So, like, which one of you going to come in second place?
So first words through the door.
Which one of you going to come in second place? Dan?
It was over.
I'm sitting around.
When I got into the NBA, I measured myself to Larry Bird every single day. Period. I want to kick Larry Bird's butt every time I see him.
The first game we played against them, Magic was like wood.
Larry Bird's most powerful rebuttal to the Magic Johnson narrative has never been a word. It has been his absence. His silence is not empty, it is densely packed with meaning, and it has become a ghost that haunts every ceremony, every reunion, every attempt to celebrate the era they defined. While Magic is a ubiquitous presence as an ambassador, greeting fans, glad-handing sponsors, lighting up rooms with his smile, Bird's legendary reclusiveness casts a long, cool shadow. Consider the Hall of Fame. Magic is a fixture, a perennial presenter, a master of ceremonies in spirit if not in title. His voice is part of the furniture. Bird's appearances, by contrast, are treated as historic events. When he does show up, it's with the air of a visiting monarch, there to fulfill a duty and then retreat. He offers no warm, sprawling speeches. His comments are precise, technical, and devoid of the sentimental nostalgia that fuels such weekends. This deliberate distance is a form of commentary. By refusing to play the part of the nostalgic legend, by rejecting the collaborative storytelling, he invalidates the cozy narrative others build around him. His absence screams that the packaged emotional history of the NBA is incomplete without his pain, his obsession, his singular, unsmiling focus, elements the official story consistently downplays. This dynamic reaches its peak during the rare joint appearances. Observers note a palpable, fascinating tension. Magic will be in full flow, telling a story, reaching out to touch Bird's arm, trying to draw him into the performance. Bird will stand stiffly, offering a thin smile that doesn't reach his eyes, giving only the minimal response required. He becomes a statue of dissent in the middle of Magic's living museum. It's a silent battle of philosophies happening in real time. Magic's inclusive, expressive, relationship-driven view of legacy versus Bird's solitary, achievement-based, internally defined view. Bird's very body language in these moments is his argument. He is demonstrating that the camaraderie is a performance, and he is a reluctant actor, refusing to learn his lines. The impact of this silent resistance is profound. It forces everyone else, the media, the league, fans, to acknowledge the crack in the foundation of basketball history. The perfect story has a stubborn, silent hole in the middle of it. You cannot truly celebrate the Bird Magic era because one of its pillars refuses to celebrate. He allows the celebration to happen around him, but his participation is a form of protest. In a world of endless content and hot takes, Bird's refusal to provide either is his ultimate power. He has weaponized his silence. The ghost in the Hall of Fame isn't just absent, he is a constant, quiet correction to the record. A reminder that the truth of competition is often too raw, too personal, and too ugly to be fit for the warm, backslapping Legends tour that Magic Johnson so brilliantly commands.
All the smoke is a little different than other shows. Jack, what you drinking?
Vitamin water, my brother.
Okay. All right, just want to make sure there ain't no vodka in there.
No.
So we got some different rules here. So if your phone goes off, Jack, what they got to do?
You have to do push-ups. My brother, please explain to them what push-ups is.
So a push-up is you have to put a joint in your mouth and do 10 push-ups.
The shocking, unspoken truth that Larry Bird's silence guards is this: the rivalry never actually ended. On the court, it concluded with handshakes and retirements, but in Bird's mind, in the foundational way he defines his own legend, the competition simply shifted to a new permanent arena, the arena of legacy. And in this endless shadow competition, Bird believes he is losing. This is the core of the bitterness, the source of the resentment that time has hardened into a permanent condition. Bird's metric for greatness was always starkly simple: winning. Rings, MVPs, finals appearances. By those pure, tangible measures, he could look at his career alongside Magic's and see a near-perfect dead heat, a testament to their pushes and pulls. But in the decades since, he has watched Magic's version of victory expand far beyond the trophy case. Magic won the business world, becoming a titan of ownership and investment. Magic won the media, becoming a beloved, omnipresent voice and personality. Magic won the narrative, becoming the smiling face of their generation, the ambassador who defines its spirit for new fans. In the battle for the soul of the NBA's story, Magic's philosophy of connection, showmanship, and entrepreneurialism has been utterly triumphant. Bird, who retreated to the woods of Indiana and a front office role defined by grumpy old-school evaluation, sees himself as the guardian of a dying truth, that the game itself, stripped bare of all pageantry, is the only thing that matters. But that truth is no longer the currency of the league. The currency is narrative, access, and brand, and Magic prints that currency. Every time Magic is hailed as a visionary businessman, every time he lights up a television screen, every time he is cited as the model for the modern player executive, it is, in Bird's internal scorebook, another bucket scored against him. Magic didn't just beat him in some finals, he ultimately beat his entire worldview. So, what have we learned? We learned that the greatest rivalry in sports history was even deeper and more complex than we knew. It wasn't just Celtics versus Lakers, or Hick from French Lick versus Showtime. It was a clash of fundamental human philosophies: expression versus introspection, narrative versus truth, brand versus craft. Magic Johnson saw basketball as a stage, and legacy as a story to be told and sold. Bird saw basketball as a craft, and legacy as a trophy to be earned, then left on a silent shelf. Their conflict on the court was just the opening act. The real battle was for the soul of the NBA's memory, and it's a battle that has raged within Larry Bird every single day since. He broke his silence not to make peace, but to finally set the record straight on his own terms. The handshake after the 1985 finals wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a Cold War that's still being fought, not with jump shots, but with silence, absence, and a legendary, uncompromising grudge. The final question is this: in a world that celebrates the storyteller, does the man who lived the story in silence become a legend, or does he become a ghost? Subscribe as we continue to uncover the real, untold stories behind the legends the NBA wants you to forget.